Welcome to Gut Punch, the podcast that explores life-changing moments. Hosted by Kathryn Lancioni, a seasoned educator with personal insights into resilience. Kathryn shares how life can change in an instant, shaping our path forward. Each episode features inspiring guests who face their own gut punch moments. Guests share their journeys through loss, upheaval, and triumph. What to expect: honest conversations, lessons in resilience, inspiration for growth. Join Kathryn as she highlights courage and perseverance in every story. Gut Punch is a reminder that there is always a path forward. Be part of the conversation. Register now to join Kathryn for today's journey.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Gut Punch podcast. My name is Kathryn Lancioni, and I'm your host for today's episode. Today, we're joined by Colinda Latour, a UK-based coach specializing in self-love. Colinda, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Kathryn. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. So before we start, if we're talking about kind of what your gut punch was, if you could share a little bit about yourself with everyone, your background, and then take us right into that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a self-love coach, author of Living in Love, as well as a speaker. So this wasn't always who I was. I spent many years in a tech and information industry, but a few years ago, I published my book. And while I was writing my book, I realized that, self-love is really the root of all love. And I believe that if we can help more people, and now I deal specifically with women, but I still believe that if we can have more people love themselves, we can actually change our world as well as our own world too. So my book is based on, as well as most of my coaching is based on a challenge I gave myself to do 10 acts of love per day for 31 days. Because I reached a plateau in my own life where, yes, I'd done a lot of self-development, self-love work, but I just wanted more. I wanted to become love. And I thought, how do you become love? And me being an action taker and a doer, I was like, maybe you have to do love to become love. So that's where the challenge was born. And it really changed my life. It was phenomenal. So doing acts of love throughout your day, like I said, I did 10 for the whole month repetitively as well, right? So some of them were geared towards self-love. Some of them were love towards others. And some of them were to just raise your vibration, make you feel better, put you in that loving state, right? So an example of self-love one would be hug yourself. So I did that multiple times a day during the challenge, and I still do. But what happened is the results that came from this challenge is, as my title of my book says, how to create a lifestyle of love, bliss, and crazy ass manifesting all in 31 days. Because when you're in a loving state, this is where the manifesting comes into play, is you feel very whole, you feel connected to everything, and you don't lack anything because you're full of love, because you're putting it into action throughout your day. You're doing loving things. You're raising your vibration. You feel really great by doing all these loving things, and you put out a different energy, and what you're putting out there comes back. And so, things like serendipitous occasions, like I would just think of somebody and then they'd show up, right? That happened continuously. Money just came into my life, unless after I'd finished the challenge, but still kept doing love actions in my life. I, found my dream job back when I was still in my information career, doubled my salary, found my, partner who, my dream partner, all this stuff just started happening. But beyond that, I had 100% faith in myself and life always working out. Right? Yeah. Wholeness, connection. You know how everyone says we're all one? Well, you feel it when you're living in that loving state. Well, because sorry, go ahead, Kathryn.
No,
I could talk about this forever.
You're like me, not lacking passion and enthusiasm. It's all good. I was going to say what I love about your whole thing was, I know that, they always say when you do something good for someone, it makes you feel better about yourself. And I think that is so true, because it's so like, we just feel better. We're in a happy mood, and we just feel better when we do things for other people, And I wanted to ask you, what are 10 acts of love a day? So take us through how you define an act of love, whether it's big or small.
I think so for me, it's an act of compassion, an act of kindness towards yourself, towards others. I mean, it's just, like you said, it feels good. So something that makes you feel loved and just happier, blissful, right? I mean, when I was doing this and still after, you just have sustained periods of bliss because you're doing loving things, like you said. And when you give love out there, it comes back. So, one of my favorite love actions is what I call them was to send 5 messages of love to 5 different people, right? I would just pick random people throughout the days, and I still do. And I send them messages of how much I appreciate and care for them. And guess what? That comes back and it's
It
awesome. So
does.
I have ulterior motives
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, but
But
that's okay. And it's even like I know like little things like holding a door for somebody,
mm,
or like I don't know, I do yoga and like helping someone, grab their yoga mat or wipe down their mat
yes.
after class. I don't know. Like little things like that. Like it takes 16 seconds at
Yeah.
best, and it's you're helping someone, and then you kind of feel like this, I don't know, this like little bolt of like energy of like, oh, I did a good thing. Like that's really nice.
Yeah.
So what was the catalyst for you to do this on your own? What brought you to that place?
Honestly, it was like I said, writing the book and the results that came out of it. I just knew I had to share it. So when I
Yeah.
finished the book and was publishing it, I just kind of went, I wonder if there's a thing such as a self-love coach. And I Googled it and there was, and I found a course, a program that I really, resonated with, and it was ICF credited and all of that. So I took it and then that was it. And it's because I truly believe simple acts of love can change our world, but it has to start here. Right. And
Absolutely.
what else I've noticed, I noticed it while I was doing the challenge and later since have done the research and the neuroscience behind it. But
Yeah.
when your heart is so full of love and when you're doing loving things, fear and fear-based emotions such as unworthiness, sadness, anger, jealousy, all of those, negative emotions, they actually can't operate at the same level. And that's the way our brain works. So when you're doing loving things, your prefrontal cortex and your insula are lit up and it calms your amygdala, which of course is your stress and alert kind of center of the brain. And your fear goes down and your love and stuff goes up, right? So what I found is that, even if I wasn't having the best of days, I could bounce back much quicker. I was still, aware that love is always present and available to me. And I may be feeling yucky right now, but it's okay. Love is just even helping me feel a little bit better. And I just knew the more love I did and the more love I felt, the less of those fear-based emotions I would encounter. So I really just did it to help others and spread love around the world.
Fantastic. Well, they always say you have to practice what you preach, and you definitely have done that. Practice what you coach. So, why don't you take us through some moments, if you want to call them a gut punches, that you've been through, and how this concept of self love to help you navigate those things?
So I'm actually going to take you to one of the most recent gut punch.
Okay.
As you're aware, we've had to delay this recording a few times because I lost my dog in October. And it
Yes.
was a massive gut punch for me. He was with me for 14 years of my life. Many of those years, it was just he and I, right? So
Oh,
he went from Canada to Turkey with me, from Turkey to the UK. He's just been my constant companion. So I lost him in not the best of ways. I was actually celebrating getting some clients that night, and my partner and I were going to do a meditation together, and my dog always barked when we were meditating. So I usually quieted him with some treats, some of his favorite chew treats. And so I went and got the treats. And this little voice in my head said, don't give it to him. And I didn't listen. And I gave it to him because he'd had them before and they were his favorite,
yeah.
honestly. And he loved eating. And sadly, when we were meditating, even thereafter, usually we were very good with checking the size of the treat. And some reason it just didn't happen. Got caught in his throat, and he had to have 2 emergency endoscopies to try and get it out. And then 6 days in the vets fighting chest infection. They didn't manage to get it out, but they managed to push it down. Then they were worried there was blockage. They were worried. In the end, he was in the oxygen tent and he just wasn't able to breathe on his own. He was 15. So you know what? I have to say, I
Live
was
a good life.
blessed to have him with me. I adopted him when he was 2. So I had him
Oh,
for he was almost 16. So I've had him for almost 14 years. Right. And I'm very blessed that I did have him that time. But I'll tell you, it ripped me apart. It just, like you said, it gut punched me. And, I'm still grieving. I'm not going to lie. Obviously, it's only a couple of months, not even a couple of months ago, but I'm getting out of it, right? I'm on the upswing. I can feel it, but there's been other things that have happened since then. So, I think with that old expression, when it rains, it pours,
yeah.
right? So there were, sadly, with the vet, There was a massive, massive bill attached to that was not expected. And of course, that's a bit hardship, especially this time of the season, or,
Yes.
getting prepped for Christmas. So that was also, that's a big crunch in my finances. And then as well, just also, I think dealing with grief is very difficult and it can put people in different states of mind.
Yes.
Then on top of this, there was some relationship problems too, right?
Yep.
So it was just like everything is crashing down to the point, Kathryn, where I actually had like a physical collapse. I just couldn't handle the levels of stress that
Okay.
I was receiving or doing at that time. And what got me out of it?
Yes.
Putting love into action.
Yeah. So what did you do?
I was gentle with myself, but I'll tell you the top two things I did: self-hug, affectionate touch, just making myself feel better, soothing myself, right? And heart breathing. So heart breathing is breathing in and out of your heart, slow, long breaths, longer exhales. And with it, you imagine, you try and have this loving feeling. You can send
Mhm.
love throughout your body. You can just think of things that you love, to have those feelings and emotions of gratitude and appreciation. And that they've proven that up to 3 minutes of heart breathing can actually reduce your stress for up to 6 hours. So those
Wow.
were the top two things I did. And then I learned a lot about myself, in the sense that I learned that I was still pushing myself too hard. You start a new business, you're go, go, go. But there
Yes.
needs to be, in my opinion, there needs to be a balance, right? The go, 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 push, push, push is like a masculine energy. The flow, the ease, the alignment, the intuition, that's your feminine energy. I was out of balance. I was
Yep.
go, go, go. So, Jeff's passing, Jeffrey was the name of my dog. Jeff's passing taught me to slow down more,
Yeah.
and really made me reflect and go, Colinda, how have you been spending these last 10 months running your business? Yes, you were more go, go, go. And intuition was a big one for me, because obviously, like I said, I didn't listen to that little voice.
Yep.
So it taught me, do not ignore that voice anymore, right? And I'd ignored it earlier this year and got into a bicycle accident, a head-on collision with another cyclist,
Wow.
right? That wasn't a gut punch to the sense, but that was a wake-up call of what is going on here? Why did this person and I collide head-on? Something's
Yeah.
not, something in my life is, and again, I was rushing to get to an appointment because I was working too hard during the day. I was like, go, 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 So the passing of Jeffrey and the actual physical collapse of my body just was like, all right, it's time to stop pushing yourself.
Yes. Yes. And I
Yeah.
think being, you said it earlier, being kind to yourself, giving yourself just like that hug, giving yourself that mental reassurance, it's okay. Like, it's so incredibly important. And I think people just don't do it because we're all, especially this time of year during the holidays, everyone is rushing, 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 rushing. And the reality is, in most cases, not all, if it doesn't get done, it's okay. Right.
Yeah.
And I think so many of us are rushing, 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 not necessarily for ourselves, but to help and support other people. And in doing that, we forget about our own mental health. We forget about our own emotional balance, And I'm really glad that you shared that. And I very much appreciate the honesty, with
Mm.
what you went through. I know my dog of 14 years also actually passed in June. And uh, I don't know. I was away for work, and it happened when I was gone. And
Mm.
what was interesting was, and talking about that little inner person, when I was leaving the house to go abroad, I was leaving, and I looked at her, and she was sitting in her little bed in the corner. Her name was Bonnie. And I had this, for some reason, I had this feeling like this was the last time I was ever going to see her. And then
Wow.
4 days later, she was dead. And, it was, I don't think I actually knew how to process the grief because she was the family pet. We had her when my kids were like little, like, I don't know, 3 and 6, and now they're not little anymore. They're both in college. And so she really had become like the third child. She really was, I don't know, she was just here. She was like Yoda. My daughter used to call her our eldest elder because she was, definitely the oldest in human years. And there was just kind of this, like, I don't know, force about her that, I don't know, was amazing. And so when she was gone, you just had that sudden loss, just like you had. And it was For me, it was unexpectedly hard because she, just like your dog, she had been with us through several moves, several different apartments, and she was the constant. She was always there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you had this experience, but I don't know. When I got back from my trip and I was in the house and she wasn't here, I had days where I was like sitting away working, and out of the corner of my eye, I would think that she was sitting next to me, or I would think that she was running by, but she wasn't because she had been gone at that point. She's gone at that point. But she's so missed by all of us, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really hard. And I think, so much of life, whether it's, loss, like a pet or a family, or a human, it can be something that happens at work. Maybe you lose your job, maybe you get down, or by getting downsized, maybe you quit, whatever. Maybe it's just something that doesn't work out, a project that doesn't work out the way that you want it to. It's so hard. And I think, what I love what you said about being gentle on yourself, like you got to work through it on your own time. What
Yeah.
are some strategies that you give to your clients when they go through these crazy life experiences?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same strategies I give myself, right? It's definitely, practicing more compassion with yourself, reaching out for support to me more if they need it in between sessions and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And, part of, like I said, my coaching does involve the love actions. So, my signature program, which is the 8 weeks, I lead them through the 4 week challenge. But when you continue to work with me after, then there are times when we still bring them in because these are things you should integrate into your everyday life to keep the love within it, right? And so, if they come to me with something very difficult, it's like, okay, well, maybe perhaps you do a little bit more of this, or a little bit. So one of the love actions is called luscious, luxurious love moments. It's like those moments that just make you go like, this is so wonderful. Like take a moment you love already and just amplify it, right? And I say to them, you know what, maybe you need to do a few more of those. Let's do more things you love, because if you want a life you love and you want to get out of this feelings of just, not feeling good, the best way to do it is to actually do something loving, because then it gets like when you can, the quickest way to change this state is to change your physical state as well,
Yeah.
right? So if you can actually go and do something loving, that's helping with muscle memory, it's getting out of your head. And, that's one of the reasons why I did heart breathing so much, because it gets you out of here and it gets you into your heart. And your heart knows the
Yeah.
truth, right? Your heart's going to be kind and caring to you. This is going to be like thinking of all, everything you don't want it to be thinking of. So I basically lead them through, and I also guide them in you have to be gentle, because like you said earlier, some women and a lot of people just don't look after themselves. They put everybody first. And even though we get the instruction in the airplane, put your mask on first, we rarely do that, right? And so it's teaching these women that it's okay to put yourself first.
Yeah.
And especially in times when you're hurting or something's not going right, or you're high stress, high worry, high anxiety, then this is the time when you do need to put more time to you. Be tender with yourself, be gentle with yourself, talk to yourself like you would your best friend, right? Get rid of that inner critic for now.
Yep. And I think
Yeah.
too, like women, we're so good as you said, we're so good at putting everybody else first, right?
Mm.
And we put everyone else's priorities above our own. And at the end of the day, we don't get some of the stuff that we want to get done. And that stuff could be important, whether in person, important personally, important professionally. One thing I did for myself, right, when my kids were little, I've always been a runner. And, as a mom, it's really easy to have every excuse in the book not to exercise. But I always still do. I set aside 1 hour a day to
Mm.
exercise, whether it's run, play tennis, box, do whatever, because that's my time. And, I don't have an Apple Watch because it's going to be distracting. So I don't have an Apple Watch. I don't have my phone with me. I just let myself mentally and physically breathe. Let's put it like that. And having that uncomplicated hour, giving myself just that space to think and breathe and learn about myself, and really, in some ways, in many ways, the world around me, um, is an absolute gift. And I start every day, whether I'm here, whether I'm in London, wherever I am in the world, with some form of exercise, be it a walk, a run, or whatever. And I've had some of my best thoughts, and I've seen some of my most amazing life experiences by just being outside, going for a walk, going for a run, or meeting some great people, going to a group exercise class or something. And those are moments that are mine.
Yeah.
And those are moments that help me grow as a person. And wish and hope that from this conversation that everyone can learn about the importance of doing that. Because I know someone said to me once, if you don't take care of yourself, no one's going to take care of you.
Yeah.
And
Or what it, sorry.
there's just so much to that.
Yeah. I mean, and you can't give from an empty cup, right?
That's right.
Self-love activities, doing loving things, they fill your cup. Doing
They
stuff you
do.
love, like your movement every day, your hour for you, that replenishes you. So you can then show up for yourself and for others as your best self, right?
That's right.
If you're running around for everyone else and, not replenishing your own energy, your own by doing things you love as well, because I think that's very important, right? We're not just here to survive, we're here to thrive.
Yes.
And thriving is also about looking after yourself, but yeah, having fun, doing what you love. It doesn't have to be so serious all the time. And also I love that you're like, no, this is it. This is my hour and non-negotiable, right? And I
I
think
never
more
even owned a
people
baby
need to
jogger,
have
those
that.
jogging strollers. I never even owned one of those because I was like, that would mean my child would come with me, and I love my kids to death, but, like, that was my hour. I remember someone said to me once, "You don't have a baby jogger stroller?" I'm like, "Nope, don't have one." Because that was my time.
Yeah.
That was my
Yeah.
time.
And I think another thing we need to realize with that is it's not selfish. It's not, because there's also that
Yeah.
stigma attached. You take time for yourself, all of a sudden you're being selfish. Oh, you didn't do that for that person. Boundaries, time for yourself, not selfish. They'll just keep you sane and keep you healthy and be able
Well,
to
that's
let you bounce back faster when you are really low and things like a gut punch happens to you, right?
well, that's right, because, we are best at helping other people when we are the best version of ourselves.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
everyone has a different script for what makes them happy, right? Everyone has different ways of managing stress and managing chaos and managing anxiety. But at the end of the day, as we're talking about, it all comes from within. And, if you don't love yourself, no one else will. And I mean, that
Mm,
sounds very, I don't know, dark and deep and whatever, but it's true. Like all the data shows that we as humans are attracted to people, not necessarily romantically, but just friend wise, who are happy, who emanate
mm.
positivity. And I think, as you're saying, that positivity starts internally, right? It starts with us. So, Colinda, a question I ask this of all the guests that we have on the show. If there are people that are listening right now who feel stuck, who just feel like life is too overwhelming, and, whether it's, the holiday blues, or whether it's just the stress of starting a new year, or whether they've just had a really recent horrible gut punch, what's some advice that you have for them to help them move forward?
I think, again, I would return right back to the heart breath. That's one of my favorite go-tos. What's important is regulating your nervous system, right? Trying to get out of the stress, the fight, flight, freeze, and into a calmer, easy. And that's very difficult when you are in a state of something just happening, because your brain is just like, we have a negative bias as humans. It's just the way we are created, and that's what happens. And so we'll be more prone to think about all the horrible things, what just happened, or play it out and even assume the worst, even though it's already happened, right? You can still just amplify these feelings. And so my main thing would be get out of the head and into the heart, because this is where you're going to find peace. And like I said, the more research they do about heart breathing, the better it is for you. So when you breathe in and out of your heart, like I said, long, slow breaths, give me, nose or mouth. I think ideally nose, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Your exhale is slightly longer than your inhale. And what you are is you're breathing into the heart and you're breathing out. One of my favorite things to do in it is just send love throughout, right? Our cells are all receptors and transmitters. 5 trillion or whatever cells we have, they just receive information, we send it. And when we go into heart breathing, we actually put ourselves into heart, mind, body cohesion.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
And when you're in that, it means your systems are operating together efficiently, effectively. The heart actually communicates more to the brain. And because it's feeling good doing the heart breathing, it's sending these wonderful messages to the brain that says, you can calm down, you're safe, you're okay, we feel all right. And like I said before, 3 minutes of that can reduce your stress for up to 6 hours. So they're finding a lot of research and science behind it, just a simple breath practice. Now, that may help you get out of like high anxiety or high stress right in that moment. But for longer term, again, I'll go back to be gentle with yourself, be patient with yourself, be compassionate, reach out for help if you need it. You do not have to do this alone. And that can be your friends, your family, whoever. Or if you do have a pet, give them an extra cuddle, because they'll be there for you. Absolutely. Look after yourself and don't beat yourself up if you need to take, a 2-hour rest during the day and stop things or slow things down. Like you said, nobody's going to get harmed or nobody's going to die if you
Yeah.
miss this few hours, if you need to look after yourself. I think the number one thing I always recommend to people is just, again, heart breathing is one of the quickest and simplest ways you can just relax yourself in a very, high stress environment immediately.
I love that.
Mm.
And it's such an easy thing to do if you just give yourself the time to do it. Okay. So before we go, I would love for you to let people know how to get a hold of you. I
Sure.
love the messages that you shared and the ideas. And I think for so many people, it'll be transformative. So where can they find you?
Absolutely. So I'm primarily on LinkedIn, and you can just search for Colinda Latour as spelled, or if you see it on the screen, or you can email me info@colindalatour.com. Or of course, my website is colindalatour.com. And honestly, you Google me, there's only one of me. I don't think there's any other Colinda Latours in the world. So you're bound to find me. I do have accounts on Instagram and Facebook, but I'm not active on those. LinkedIn, if you really want to get a hold of me and up to date with stuff I'm sharing, that'd be it. I also have if you don't mind me saying this, I have a free movement. It's called Living in Love, the Movement. And the sole goal of that is to do 10 million acts of love worldwide. So I've built a little love action log you can log into and log your love actions. We watch the counter go up. We have lots of free resources in there. And as well, we do monthly online, I call them global love circles, where we just do some loving stuff together and send love out to the world. So that's
How do people find it? Yeah. Where can we find out about that?
it's in my featured posts, actually, on my LinkedIn profile is probably the easiest way to do that, because otherwise it's, I'd have to give you a link and stuff like that to go
Yeah.
log in. But if they go to my featured posts on LinkedIn profile, they'll find the Living in Love, the movement.
Wonderful. I love that. And I share with you being the only one of me in the world. As far as I
Isn't
know,
that
I'm the only
awesome?
Kathryn Lancioni talking to the only Colinda Latour. So good stuff. All
That's
right.
great.
Well, Colinda, thank you. It was an absolute pleasure. And happy holidays.
Thank you.
Everyone, thanks for listening to an episode of the Gut Punch podcast. And we'll talk to you next week. Bye, everybody.
That's it for today's episode of Gut Punch. I hope you found inspiration, because no matter how hard life hits, there's always a way forward. Make sure to follow or subscribe to Gut Punch on your favorite podcast platform. If you know someone who could use a little inspiration, share this episode with them. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay strong. See you in the next episode.